The Earl of Derby, 1607 to 1651, James Stanley, 7th Earl of Derby of Latham House, Lancashire, was an English nobleman, politician, and supporter of the Royalist cause in the English Civil War. He was chosen by the future Charles II to command the troops of Lancashire and Cheshire. On the 25th of August, 1651, Derby was totally defeated in Wigan by Cromwell's parliamentarians at the Battle of Wigan Lane, being severely wounded and escaping with difficulty. James Stanley, 7th Earl of Derby, Kilogram, the 31st of January, 1607, the 15th of October, 1651, of Latham House in the parish of Latham in Lancashire, was an English nobleman, politician, and supporter of the Royalist cause in the English Civil War. Before inheriting the title in 1642, he was known as Lord Strange. He was feudal lord of the Isle of Man, Lord of Man, where he was known as Yn Stanley, the Great Stanley. Died Bolton, buried Church of St. Peter and St. Paul, Ormskirk. Allegiance. Royalist battles / wars. Bolton Massacre, Battle of Marston Moor, Battle of Wigan Lane, Battle of Worcester. Origins. Artist's impression, 1864, of Latham House, at the time of the Civil War. Built in 1496 by Thomas Stanley, 1st Earl of Derby, circa 1435–1504. It had 18 towers, was surrounded by a wall 6 feet thick and a moat 8 yards wide, its drawbridge defended by a gateway tower. In the centre was a tall tower known as the Eagle Tower. He was born at Knowsley, near Latham House, on the 31st of January, 1607, the eldest son of William Stanley, 6th Earl of Derby, 1561–1642, kilogram, by his wife Elizabeth de Vere, a daughter of Edward de Vere, 17th Earl of Oxford. Early life. After travelling abroad, he was elected as a Member of Parliament for Liverpool in 1625. On the 2nd of February, 1626, he was created a Knight of the Bath on the coronation of King Charles I. 1626 he served jointly with his father as Lord Lieutenant of Lancashire, Lord Lieutenant of Cheshire and Chamberlain of the City of Chester. He assisted in the administration of the Isle of Man and in 1627 was appointed Lord of Man, a position first awarded in 1405 by King Henry IV to his ancestor John Stanley, c. 1350–1414, kilogram. Subsequently, he was appointed Lord Lieutenant of North Wales. Created Baron Strange. Arms of Strange de Knockin, gules, 2 lions passant argent. Quartered by Stanley. The ancient title Baron Strange of Knockin, created in 1299, as it had been created by writ, was capable of being inherited by females. It had become abeyant in 1594 following the death, leaving no sons of Ferdinando Stanley, 5th Earl of Derby, 13th Baron Strange, 1559–1594, who however left 3 daughters and co-heiresses legally capable of inheriting that ancient title, whereupon it became abeyant between all 3. They were not, however, as females, legally capable of inheriting the earldom, which went to his younger brother William Stanley, 6th Earl of Derby, 1561–1642. By modern reckoning, the abeyance of the barony of Strange of Knockin was not terminated until 1921. However, in 1594 the status of this barony was not apparent to the family nor to the authorities in the House of Lords, and all parties assumed that the 6th Earl had also become 14th Baron Strange of Knockin. On the 7th of March, 1628, his son and heir apparent, James Stanley, later 7th Earl of Derby, was summoned to the House of Lords through a writ of acceleration as Lord Strange, the supposed subsidiary title of his father. When it was discovered that his father's assumption of the barony was erroneous, it was deemed that there were two baronies of Strange, one created in 1299 then in abeyance, and another created accidentally in 1628. Civil War. James Stanley, 7th Earl of Derby, after Van Dyck, collection of government of Isle of Man. He took no part in the political disputes between king and parliament and preferred country pursuits and the care of his estates to the royal court or public life. Nevertheless, when the Civil War broke out in 1642, Lord Strange devoted himself to the king's cause. With the death of his father on the 29th of September, 1642, he succeeded as 7th Earl of Derby. His plan of securing Lancashire at the beginning and raising troops there, which promised success, was however discouraged by Charles, said to be jealous of his power and royal lineage, who commanded his presence at Nottingham. His subsequent attempts to recover the county were unsuccessful. He was unable to get possession of Manchester, was defeated at the Battle of Chowbant and at the Battle of Loughton Moor, and in 1643 after gaining Preston failed to take Bolton and Lancaster Castle. Finally, after successfully beating off the attack by Sir William Brereton on Warrington, he was defeated at the Battle of Whalley and withdrew to York, whereupon Warrington surrendered to the Parliamentarian forces. In June 1643 he left for the Isle of Man to attend to affairs there. In the summer of 1644 he took part in Prince Rupert's successful campaign in the north. The siege of Latham House was relieved, the defence of which had been led by his wife Charlotte de la Tremoille, and the town of Bolton was taken with much bloodshed, in what became known as the Bolton Massacre. He followed Rupert to the Battle of Marston Moor, and after the complete defeat of Charles's cause in the north, withdrew to the Isle of Man, where he held out for the king and offered asylum to royalist fugitives. His administration of the isle imitated that of Thomas Wentworth, 1st Earl of Strafford in Ireland. It was strong rather than just. He maintained order, encouraged trade, remedied some abuses, and defended the people from the exactions of the Church, but he crushed opposition by imprisoning his antagonists, and aroused a prolonged agitation by abolishing the tenant right and introducing leaseholds. James Stanley, 7th Earl of Derby, portrait by Cornelius Johnson, 1593–1661, Taberley House, Knutsford, Cheshire. Stanley was a man of deep religious feeling and of great nobility of character. In July 1649, following the execution of Charles I, he refused with scorn the terms offered him by Henry Ireton. On the 12th of January 1650 he was made a Knight of the Garter by the late king's exiled son, the future Charles II. He was chosen by the future Charles II to command the troops of Lancashire and Cheshire, and on the 15th of August 1651 he landed at Wyrewater in Lancashire in support of Charles II's invasion, and met Charles on the 17th of August 1651. He proceeded to Warrington but failed to obtain the support of the Presbyterians due to his refusal to take the Covenant, and on the 25th of August was totally defeated at the Battle of Wigan Lane, being severely wounded and escaping with difficulty. Capture, execution and burial. He was with Charles at the Battle of Worcester, after which on the 3rd of September 1651 he accompanied him to Boscobel House. While on his way north alone he was captured near Nantwich and was tried by court-martial at Chester on the 29th of September and was found guilty of treason under the terms of the Act of Parliament passed in the preceding month, which declared those who corresponded with Charles II guilty of treason, and he was condemned to death. His appeal to Parliament for pardon, although supported by Oliver Cromwell, was rejected. He endeavoured to escape but was recaptured by Captain Hector Schofield. He was taken to Bolton for his execution, because of his part in the Bolton massacre. He was beheaded on the 15th of October, 1651 at the Market Cross in Churchgate, Bolton, near the Man and Scythe Inn, owned at the time by the Earl of Derby's family. Today the Market Cross bears an inscribed tablet commemorating the execution. In the inn survives a chair inscribed the 15th of October, 1651. In this chair James, 7th Earl of Derby sat at the Man and Scythe Inn, Churchgate, Bolton, immediately prior to his execution. He was buried in the Derby Chapel, built in about 1572 in accordance with the will of the 3rd Earl of Derby, in the Church of St. Peter and St. Paul, Ormskirk. Marriage and children. James Stanley, 7th Earl of Derby with his wife Charlotte de la Tremoille and one of their daughters. Painting by Van Dyck, circa 1631–1641. On the 26th of June, 1626 he married Charlotte de la Tremoille, 1599–1664, a daughter of Claude de la Tremoille, Duc de Thouars by his wife Countess Charlotte Brabantina of Nassau. Her maternal grandparents were William I, Prince of Orange, 1533–1584, founder of the House of Orange-Nassau and ancestor of the monarchy of the Netherlands, whose wife was Charlotte de Bourbon, a daughter of Louis de Bourbon, Duke of Montpensier. By Charlotte he had 6 sons and 4 daughters, 3 of whom died young and 2 of whom died unmarried. Sons: Charles Stanley, 8th Earl of Derby, 2nd Baron Strange, 1628–1672, eldest son and heir, who had 2 sons. William Stanley, 9th Earl of Derby, 3rd Baron Strange, c. 1655–1702, eldest son, who left only female children who inherited the barony of Strange. James Stanley, 10th Earl of Derby, 6th Baron Strange, 1664–1736, who having inherited the earldom from his brother and the barony of Strange from his brother's descendant Henrietta Ashburnham, 5th Baroness Strange, d. 1732, died childless, when the barony of Strange passed to James Murray, 2nd Duke of Atholl, 7th Baron Strange, 1690–1764, the grandson of his sister Amelia Stanley, and the earldom of Derby passed to his cousin Edward Stanley, 11th Earl of Derby, 1689–1776, a descendant of Thomas Stanley, 1st Earl of Derby. The present Earl of Derby is his descendant. Edward Stanley, the 7th of January, 1639 October, 1664, died unmarried. William Stanley, the 18th of October, 1640 the 25th of October, 1670, died unmarried. John Stanley, the 4th of November, 1641 the 10th of September, 1719, married a commoner. 2 sons, died young. Daughters: Coat of Arms of Murray, Dukes of Atholl, at Blair Castle. The 3rd Grand Quarter displays Stanley quartering Lord of Man, Latham and Strange. Charlotte Stanley, died young. Harriet Stanley, the 17th of November, 1630 the 27th of December, 1685, who married William Wentworth, 2nd Earl of Strafford, but died childless. Amelia Stanley, 1633 the 22nd of February 170 2/3, who married John Murray, 1st Marquess of Atholl. She was, in her issue, heiress of her father's barony of Strange, which as it was deemed, like that created in 1299, to have been created by writ, was able to pass to females. In 1736 the title passed to her grandson James Murray, 2nd Duke of Atholl. Today the Dukes of Atholl still quarter the arms of Stanley, Strange of Knockin and the arms of the Lord of Man. Catherine Stanley, who married Henry Pierrepont, 1st Marquis of Dorchester, but died childless. Character. Lord Derby was a man of deep religious feeling and of great nobility of character, who though unsuccessful in battle, served the king's cause with single-minded purpose and without expectation of reward. His political usefulness was handicapped in the later stages of the struggle by his dislike of the Scots, whom he regarded as guilty of the death of Charles I and as unfit instruments of the Restoration. According to Clarendon, he was a man of great honour and clear courage, and his defects the result of too little knowledge of the world. Literary works. Lord Derby left in manuscript a discourse concerning the government of the Isle of Man, later printed in the Stanley Papers and in Francis Peck's Desiderata Curiosa, Volume 2, and several volumes of historical collections, Observations and Devotions, Stanley Papers, and a commonplace book.